You don't need a 4.0 GPA to be successful, like anywhere in your life. Like literally, I mean, maybe if you were to get a freaking PhD, but most of us watching this channel, we're not going to pursue a PhD, right? So it's like a 4.0 is not really necessary. And it's not what employers are necessarily looking for. Do they want people who are intelligent? Yes. Do they want people who are smart? Yes. Do they want people who can solve problems? Yes. Sometimes there is overlap, right? The 4.0 student can solve problems, but that doesn't always come together, right? How to beat the 4.0 student. No one talks about this, but in 2025, having a 4.0 GPA is literally the bare minimum. It is the bare minimum. Think about this analogy. Let's say you're graduating from college. If you don't finish your 8 semesters of classes, you are not getting your bachelor's degree. It's the same thing. If you aren't a capable, intelligent individual who isn't contributing impact to an organization, you will not be employable. It's that simple. Being smart, being capable, being curious is the bare minimum in 2025. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to beat the traditional 4.0 student. So I don't really have like a strict script for this video, but I essentially kind of wanted to break it up into 3 themes, right? So I wanted to talk about personal brand, growth mindset, as well as the wow factor. And I'm going to get more into this in this video. But before we get started, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please give a like, please give a comment. Please subscribe to the channel. We're a new channel. We're up and coming. So please join the family. Okay, what do I mean by personal brand? So let's think about personal brand like an overall umbrella, and there's like different pillars within personal brand, right? So I wanted to touch upon like your personal brand in terms of your online presence. I wanted to talk about your personal brand in terms of your professional brand, right? Or your brand in academia, right? Let's say I were to talk to your professors or talk to your teachers or talk to your peers. What would they say about you, right? That is like your professional brand. And then I also wanted to talk about your ability to handle workplace or conflict resolution at any scale, whether that's working on a school project, or participating on a college or high school sports or varsity team, whether that's being in the workplace and actually your ability to resolve workplace conflict, disagreements, different kind of strategies in terms of how folks want to approach problem solving, right? Conflict resolution will come up a lot. So when I talk about your personal brand, those are like the 3 major pillars that come to mind, at least for what we're going to cover in this video. Okay, let's get started with your social media presence. When I say your social media presence, I'm not talking about your traditional like Instagram account, your Snapchat account, your Facebook account. I'm not talking about any of those things. What I'm talking about is your presence on LinkedIn. I remember when I was interviewing for like my roles in big tech and in finance, I remember I had like LinkedIn Premium. I happened to get it for free. Like I had went to a conference and I got it for free for a year. So on my LinkedIn account, it will literally tell me like, okay, like 100 users like searched up your profile this week, or you came up in, 200 search requests this week or something like that. I remember when I was interviewing for my current company, I literally remember getting like multiple notifications like weeks leading up to my interview. Mind you, at this point, I wasn't called back yet, right? I simply applied to the internship and I didn't hear anything back. But I do remember I was getting notifications that people from that company were looking at my profile. What does that mean? All that means is that your LinkedIn presence matters more than you think, right? I'm not saying you need to become like LinkedIn famous. You need to post every single day. You need to post every single week. But I am saying if you apply to an internship role, you should have somewhat like of an active presence on LinkedIn, right? Whether that's reposting other people's posts, whether that's like adding your thoughts to like, different things that are going popular or going viral, like in the corporate world, right? Whether that is posting like, hey, this is my first day of classes, or hey, I just worked on this really cool project, or hey, I just finished up this website portfolio. Like you all should check it out. Like having like a little bit of a presence on LinkedIn can get you so far, because if you think about a recruiter, right, they're receiving thousands, like for some of these jobs, they are literally receiving thousands of applications, right? How are you going to seem different than 5 other Johnny Smiths and Melissa Joneses, right? Like how else are you going to seem different? So I feel like sometimes like as students or as young people, you kind of like don't think like your LinkedIn presence is that important, right? It kind of feels a little bit cringy. It feels a little bit forced, but in the grand scheme of things, like having like a decent profile picture, a header, and maybe 1 or 2 like posts that you've posted in the last 6 months can get you far. Another thing I wanted to touch upon in terms of your personal brand is I wanted to talk a little bit about your professional brand. Now, obviously, this is a little bit harder to kind of like measure, right? Like it's not like your, hiring manager is going to like text your professor, text your teacher and be like, oh, hey, like, how is Melissa? Like, what kind of student is she, right? Like, but I will say, like, when you do start an internship or you do start a new project or you work with a new team, like how you carry yourself and how people receive you and how you've kind of acted in the past will transfer to how you show up in the future, right? And so what I'm saying is like, get into that habit of like, responding to messages really quickly, get into the habit of like taking leadership, taking initiative, not just sitting on the back burner in group projects and like letting other people pick up the work. Like just position yourself as a leader, even if it's like in small ways. I'm not saying you need to run for student body president of your high school, but I am saying like just thinking about ways you can like be an active participant. Let's say you guys have a big win or there is a big success. You can directly point to and say, hey, this is what I contributed to, which led to this direct impact. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing I want us to talk about is your ability to resolve conflicts, right? Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution, again, it's another one of those things where it's kind of hard to measure, but when you get into like, let's say you get interviewed for a college or you get interviewed for an internship, or you're just in a situation where you're meeting like a professional individual and they ask you to share some things about yourself and you guys get into a conversation, it'll be really important for you to be able to have experiences and have like different stories you have in the back of your mind that you can share, right? When you think about numbers even, or any statistic on planet Earth, people don't necessarily remember numbers, but they remember stories, right? People remember stories. So when you're meeting someone new, what is your story? How are they remembering you? Are you that guy that has like a really cool like app that he developed in iOS? Or are you that student who like won student of the ward and went to Hawaii to research kangaroos? I don't know. I'm coming up with random situations, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, what is like a standout, or like, what is something that's a part of your brand, your story that like you can share? And that can even include, again, like conflict resolution, right? Like, what kinds of lessons did you learn from like maybe taking L's or things not going how you planned, right? Like, I'm trying to think of an example. One time when I was like a sophomore in college, I like went up e-board for a club I was in and I didn't get it, right? Like, that was like a story I remember sharing in my interviews like a year later because of everything I learned from that instance, like what it taught me and how I'm overall like a better individual because of it, right? Like, I don't think these companies are looking for like these perfect individuals, but they are looking for individuals that have like some level of ability to resolve conflict, to think critically, and to grow and adapt. And that brings us to our next big major umbrella, our big major bucket that we're going to cover in this video, and that is growth mindset. Growth mindset is, it's like a buzzword at this point. Like, people throw that term all around, and I'm sure y'all are probably tired of hearing it, but I do want to emphasize it in this video because it does hold some validity, okay? Growth mindset is everything I just said related to personal brand, right? So when we look at a graph of like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, like there are a couple like themes that come up in both buckets. For a fixed mindset, we can think of things of like giving up easily, avoiding challenges because like you want to stay in your comfort zone, sticking to things that you know you're good at because you are fearful of what your outcome might be when you're not so good at something, right? Versus a growth mindset is like, okay, your school, your job, your employer, someone in leadership asks you to solve a problem. It's not something you're familiar with, but like you tackle it hands on, like you tackle it head on, you observe it, you read from it, you learn from it, and then you try and come up with like a strategic, innovative solution towards it, right? Those are kinds of like at a high level what the difference between like a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And so what I'm trying to say is like, if you're someone who's young and you're early in your journey to school, you're early in your journey to education, you're early in your journey to the workplace environment, they already know you don't know what you're doing. This is new to you. Like, we all know this, right? People who are in leadership roles or senior level roles, like we know that you're early on and you probably don't have much experience in whatever it is we're about to have you do, right? But I think what makes people who are like seasoned vets, like in the corporate world, which I'm not, but what makes people feel comfortable with like taking you on as like someone who's young and who's learning and who doesn't really know much yet is your ability to grow, adapt, like your willingness, your curiosity, your eagerness, like all of those things transfer sometimes a lot farther than someone who's just like has a 4.0 GPA, thinks they have it all figured out, thinks they know everything, thinks that, you know, they've reached their max, they've reached their peak, right? Like no one wants to be with a know-it-all. No one wants to work with someone who thinks they know everything already, right? That's lame. Okay, that brings us to our last bucket, right? In this overall quick video, right, on how to beat the 4.0 student. And that is a wow factor. I mean, a wow factor, I look at it as like, it can show up in multiple ways, but I think at a first glance, a wow factor could be in your elevator pitch, right? I know elevator pitch is something that like people throw around a lot and they mention a lot, but you know, it doesn't have to be boring. Like an elevator pitch kind of like entails everything I've talked about in this video, right? It talks about your story, it talks about your personal brand, and it talks about your wow factor, right? So when you're like meeting someone new, right? You're meeting a professor, you're meeting an employer, you're meeting someone at a networking event. Like if that individual is meeting 5 other yous, like let's say we're at a job fair, right? And they're meeting me and 4 other students at my school or university. It's like, how are they going to remember me out of those 5 other students, right? You need to have some type of wow or some fact about you, a project you're working on, something to do with your identity, right? Maybe it's being the eldest sibling, maybe it's being an immigrant, maybe it's majoring in STEM. For me, it was like I went to a women's college. So when I would meet people like early in college or even like in high school, I would always tell folks like, hey, like, you know, I think I applied to a women's college, or I'm a student of Smith College. I went to a women's college. And I feel like that is something that's like a little different, a little unique. It's not the norm. And like people will like, it'll stick with them. They'll remember that. They'll be like, oh, like that's Melissa. She goes to Smith. Like Smith is a women's college. She has like a diverse perspective on like problem solving because she went to this environment that's not like, you know, any other really, right? So just think about like what your wow factor is. Like think about who you are, think about what makes you who you are. And again, it can be so many things. It could be a sport, right? You could be like a varsity lacrosse player. It doesn't seem like it has a lot to do with maybe like college or work or internships, but find a way to like craft that into your story of who you are. I covered a lot in this video and I kind of kept things at a high level, but I just wanted you guys to, one, like be encouraged and be motivated by the fact that sometimes people are willing to work with a student that has like a 3.0 GPA or 3.5 GPA or even a 2.8 GPA. They're willing to work with that student if they can demonstrate like well-roundedness in like all these other buckets I like highlighted today. That's all I have for you all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Let me know what you want to see next. Bye.